Now we've been playing around with 24 frames. Time to go back to what we actually wanted to do. 72 big ones. So 72 frames. Let's say what else we want to do. I want to do 3 wedges for this particle seed thing. So let's go from 1 to 3. And I earlier said let's do another wedge. Let's wedge a wedge. Basically, this many wedges will be multiplied by this many wedges, and we'll have that many total permutations. So what am I going to wedge here? How about the height, the flame height? Currently, looking at this, which I think was our most recent one, the flame height, or rather the flame lifespan. I still call it flame height because that's what it used to be called in the old pyro. But here it's called flame lifespan. This is how long the flame is allowed to live for. Simple as that. So I want to say right now it's doing 2, which is the default. We should try 4 also. Twice as long. The longer it lives, the more expansion it can give off also, the more heat it can emit, and the more smoke it creates. So it's going to be substantially different by doubling that. It's just going to be bigger all around, and the fire will last longer. So I'm pretty curious to see what that looks like. So I'm going to say let's do 2 different wedges of that. And I'll say flame lifespan. Instead of doing range this time, I'm going to do value list. Although we could use range. Value list is fun because you can just type in literally what you want. So I want 2 wedges. Okay, what are they? Well, it's these. Done. So if I did a Shift V on that, you'd see we've got flame lifespan is 4. If I do a Shift V on this, you can see there is now 8, or rather there's 6 wedges now, because this is providing 3. So each one of these corresponds to these 3. Look at that cool visual. So those 3 are those 3, and those 3 are those 3. So for this one, for example, the flame lifespan is 2, and particle seed is 1. 2 and 2, 2 and 3. Then we start over again. 4 and 1, 4 and 2, 4 and 3. So we have 6 total different things. But you'll notice all the way to the end, the wedge index was increasing the whole time. It's up to 5. So this was 0, and this is 5. So that's why we use wedge index for all of our images, for all of our caches, for all of our everything. So that is particle seed, but we just made the flame lifespan. Let's actually hook it into our sim now. So go to our pyro solver here, flame lifespan, at that thing, and we can middle click it, make sure it's there. And we'll also want to put it here in the overlay text area so that we see that there too. Flame lifespan, backtick, @, thing, backtick, and there you go. It's all good. So I guess we'll still run all of these at the resolution that we're at now, 0.08, but I suppose once we see all of these, we'll choose one of them, and then we'll greatly increase the resolution, which will change the size or the shape of it a little bit. But in the meantime, I'm going to delete everything out of here. Goodbye. And that should do it. You should probably quit Houdini and open it again. That's usually what I recommend. But I don't know. It's probably less important right now because these aren't going to be that stressful on our thing anyway. So there it goes, Shift V, and we can see now we have 432 jobs for everything. 72 times 6 is 432, I guess. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, 6 times 70, 420. Anyway, so we'll let it run, and it'll probably take like, I don't know, an hour maybe or so, and we'll take a look soon. And so here's the result. And it looks really cool. We got 6 wedges to compare, and you can see what do we got. We got particle seed 1 is this first column, so it's actually nicely organized too, where we have the higher flame lifespans on the bottom, and the lower ones on the top, and the particle seeds are the columns essentially. There's a lot to love in all of these, really. I kind of like this. Feels like a more organic shape, like the way like a explosion might randomly go off. This one's all right. They're all interesting. This one kind of has like the classic like mushroom look to it though. I don't know. I could really see going. In fact, yeah, I'm glad that we did the flame lifespan 4 for this because it looks better this way. I like the larger bulb, if you will, the big thing up here. You can really see I don't know, for whatever reason, this OpenGL render is actually doing a better job than our actual flipbooks. You can see the diffusion much better here. That's interesting. But at any rate, they're all interesting. I mean, why not? They're all the same combustion settings. They just have different particle beginnings. I'm going to say, let's go with this one. Particle seed 3, flame lifespan 4. So in both ways, it's not really something we've seen before. Because we were doing flame lifespan 2 before, and particle seed, I think we were on 2. I mean, this one's cool too. I don't know. I could see it going either way. I'm just going to say, let's do this one. It doesn't really matter. So this is wedge index 5, though. That's the important part. It's the 6th wedge, essentially. So come back out here. I'm going to say, let's choose that wedge. That's this one. And we can just double check. Particle seed 3, lifespan 4. That's what we were just talking about. I'm going to go down to 0.04. That's pretty big increase in resolution. As remember, as we've often said, half the voxel size means there's twice as many voxels in that axis, and there are 3 axes, so it's 2 times 2 times 2. 8 times as much disk space. If we look at any given one of these, I'll go to sim. Let's just look at the one in question. This took, well, that's actually really good. It's only 1 gig here, so increasing it is really not going to hurt us that much. It's going to take a lot longer to render, of course, and to simulate, actually, is what I meant to say. Take a lot longer to simulate, a little bit longer to render, but still well within reasonable tolerances. So with that set, I'm going to go ahead and just say, I don't need to rerun the whole wedge. I just want to do that one. And I especially want to do it because it's going to look different. It's going to look, you can't double the resolution without leading to a pretty significant change in what the sim looks like. I mean, it'll still roughly look like this because the particles are still going this way, but little things here and there will accumulate over time, and so it will look different by the end, but it just remains to be seen how. So without further ado, I'm just going to save over the old one. You might feel more comfortable maybe saving it as a different cache to not be saved in your wedge area in case you want to wedge later. That's fine. In fact, I think I just convinced myself to do that. So I'm just going to copy this to here. We'll put a switch. We can switch between whether we want to use our wedger or not. So I'll point to this new one here. And the new one will still be in the data area, except this sim will be not in this W subfolder. I'll put it in I'll call it hero. This will be our hero one, the one that we've chosen, essentially. Later, we can switch back to the wedge one if we still even have the cache at that point. You might just delete it to get some disk space back. But there you go. Gonna do that here. File cache hero, file cache wedger, wedge. Gonna run that and see what we get. And so here we are at the 0.04 resolution. So it's 8 times as many voxels, and it looks really great. As I said earlier, the shape has changed a little bit, hasn't it? The kind of top here has gotten bigger. It's like a bouquet of flowers rising up. Maybe only a crazy person would describe an explosion as a bouquet of flowers. We'll let the courts decide. In the meantime, this looks really cool. I'm sad that there's still these dark areas here, and you don't really see all the fuzzy diffusion that we saw with the proper OpenGL render, but in any case, it's there, and this is good to continue on to our actual renders from. I'll just turn that off there. You know, finally, we get to take a moment and reflect. Look at this. From there, we've come a long way, from little fire thing to nice bulb fire. Remember, that's when we added the divergence. And then we had this where we actually had the fire make smoke and make more divergence itself. Then we went to here where we started using our particle sim as a source. And then we had our microsolvers to start to tear it up. Then we had our microsolvers kind of get reined in a little bit so they weren't tearing things up too much. And then I don't remember what the rest of them were, honestly. But they were cool too, weren't they? All the way up to here. I mean, these were all with the different initial particle trails as the one that we ended up choosing. But still, we came a long way from that first little flame, didn't we? And now to take it a lot farther with rendering. It's going to look way cooler than this when we're done with it.